Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Mike Force podcast. I told you so. Well, technically, I just told you, but you already knew that we're going after the cartels. But according to the news this morning, Trump has asked for very specific options, including special operations forces, intel operations, which have been ongoing, and bilateral options as well, because he's talking to the president of Mexico, who is drafting an agreement currently with the United States that includes intel sharing and enforcement coordination and acting against cartels. Congratulations if you're a member of Joint Special Operations Command, an SMU, U.S. Army Special Forces Command, or Ranger Regiment, and 160th SOAR, Special Operations Aviation Regiment. Congratulations. If you're a member of the Air Force as a combat controller, as a pararescueman, congratulations. Because you're all going to be involved in this conflict in some way, and it's probably going to be the most epic experiences of your life. There is no circumstance in which we will not see American operators crossing the border and conducting maybe bilateral operations with the host nation, but for sure containing objectives and killing bad guys. And like I heard another analyst say, which I believe is true, stacking these guys like firewood. It's going to happen. And if you're a member of the cartel and you don't have a retirement plan to farm, I don't know, go into consulting, or just retire in a lawn chair off the Baja Peninsula, you should, because you're not going to survive this. One of the very specific things that I know on how this works is the target decks have already been built. The target packages have already been lined out. We know bed down locations. We have signal intelligence. We have all the information we need. And the only thing the SecDef and the president need to do is come to an agreement on how it's going to work, and then it's game on. Joint Special Operations Command's entire existence is finding, fixing, and finishing bad guys. What's not often talked about is the finding and the fixing, which is a very difficult task to undertake. These guys have been doing it for 20 plus years of the GWAT, and they're going to make this look like kindergarten. It is going to be a whole bunch of construction paper and gold stars and stickers, glitter, and glue. It's going to be so easy to mop these dudes up. They've been hiding in plain sight, and now they're going to be actioned. And any hostility towards American forces on the ground is going to mean the complete eradication and likely turning cartels' mansions into parking lots. And if you want to F around, you're about to find out. Either way, you can't hide. And so this news is pretty breaking. I mean, it's been put out like, hey, these are potential things that are going to happen. The BBC reported 2 days ago that Mexico rules out Trump's reported military plan against drug cartels. Mexico, their president, has no say in this. Does the president of Yemen have a say when Obama was dropping bombs on American citizens and targeting terrorists in the hinterlands of Yemen? No. They have no say. You could say anything you want. That's not going to prevent a predator from launching a missile up a vehicle's butt that's full of cartel members. Trump flexed and he talked about Soleimani. What happened to Soleimani? In the middle of Baghdad, at BIAP, Baghdad International Airport, Soleimani driving around in his soft-skinned vehicle thinking he was getting away with something. He didn't make it out. Let's just say that. He didn't make it out. So getting into the specifics, the New York Times reports Trump directs military. Oh, the New York Times. You can't even read the New York Times without paying. No wonder nobody reads your stuff. Oh, let's go to Reuters. Trump administration eyes military action against drug cartels, U.S. officials say. Rubio says U.S. can use military and intelligence against cartels. So before there was a designation, then there was funds moved in a certain direction, and then the ball starts rolling. What is happening right now is the execution orders on collecting the information, getting fidelity on specific locations, bed downs, patterns of life, and now resourcing the execution arm. What are my options? Is it kinetic? Is it direct action? Is it we do a by, with, and through campaign, which we have already committed to, by the way. We already reported on this podcast as well as my Glover channel that members of 7th Special Forces Group, whose area of responsibility happens to be this region of the world, who have been working with the Mexican military and other foreign Latin American militaries forever. I mean, Delta and members of C-37, the 7th Group, CRIF, one of the original SIFs, were doing hostage rescue and direct action operations in Panama together in 1989. So when it comes to the ability to turnkey and get this going, how long would it take? It's instantaneous. Already, because of Title 50 authorities, the CIA and members of the military, specifically likely Joint Special Operations Command, that could be JCU, that's the Joint Communications Unit, that's SMUs, that's Delta and SEAL Team 6, they are for sure doing sabotage, subversion, and covert operations. Not all of those are big, sexy operations. It's denial of service. It's infrastructure attacks. It's networks. It's infiltrating assets. It's exfiltrating assets. It's building the intelligence package. It's all of these things that you see in movies. Psychological operations and campaigns. Making other cartels fight each other, which we've been doing probably for decades. No proof of that, but likely have been doing for decades. U.S. Navy now can conduct drug interdiction operations at sea, the sources say. That's a large shift from just the Coast Guard policing our coastal waterways that have been infiltrated by cartels and likely taxed the current capacity of the Coast Guard being able to do their job. Now we have naval carriers with SWIC boat teams and Navy SEALs on those boats. So not only are we interdicting above the surface of the water, but likely interdicting below the surface because we know the cartel uses submarines and other means of infiltration of these drugs. Military action against cartels does not appear imminent, U.S. officials say. Well, your U.S. official is wrong. It's already happening. I mean, an overt action of M860s and little birds flying across the Mexican border, yeah, we're probably a little ways out from that. But the way that this campaign is fought and won is overt in nature. Yes, there's a covert component to it, but what I mean is there needs to be front headline news of cartels being stacked up like firewood by members of the U.S. military. The Trump administration designated Mexicans Sinaloa cartel and other drug gangs, as well as Venezuelan criminal group Tren de Aragua, as global terrorist organizations in February, March, April, May, June, July, August. 6 months later, here we are. 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, the U.S. Attorney General put out a statement that we were going to give an award for the information leading to the arrest, which I don't know how that works because we already know where he is, of Maduro, an illegitimate president who is a head figure and likely commander of Tren de Agua, a terrorist organization. So he's the equivalent of Osama bin Laden. And now there's a $50 million bounty on his head. How do you think that's working out for him? He better strike a deal because that's the only option he has. U.S. Secretary of State Mark Rubio said on Thursday the administration could now use the military to go after cartels. So this is just a recent approval, by the way. Allows us to now target what they are operating and to use other elements of American power, intelligence, and the Defense Department to target these groups if we have an opportunity to do it. And there's going to be plenty of opportunities. These guys have their bed down locations, which are historical references. But let me give you an example. Let's say the leader of the cartel, a leader, a boss, decides to get in a vehicle and drive to Mexico City. We're going to know where he's driving. And if he gets semi-remote, even in a situation where he could be in the middle of an urban sprawl, he's dead. Because JSOC's going to launch a pred, and they're going to send a hellfire up the trunk of that vehicle, actually putting it through the driver's side window if they have enough signal intelligence to identify where he specifically is, and they're going to kill everybody in the car. That's how this thing works. And this idea that we're going to slow roll it, it's not going to be slow rolled, which is why all the approvals, all the execution, and all the ball rolling forward has already been done. We're just getting to the point now where we're allowing the public to know and to expect, yeah, we now have permission. So tomorrow when the headline news reads a cartel member was assassinated by JSOC, you guys could understand why. We already told you guys it was happening. The New York Times reported on Friday that Trump had secretly signed a directive to begin using military force against the groups. Now, it's no longer a secret. We knew it was going to happen, but it's game on for sure. This U.S. official, speaking on the condition of anonymity, confirmed that the move, but said military action against the designated groups did not appear imminent. It was unclear exactly what type of operations they would carry out. So they know exactly what type of operations they carry out. They're not saying so. Let me give you 3 different courses of action for types of operations that they're going to carry out. The cartels are very well organized. Their task organization is a hierarchy leading to one man at the top. Whoever that cartel boss is the head of the snake. But there are plenty of targets of opportunity down the chain. For example, facilitators, enablers, financiers, supporters of the cause that are allowing cartel members to stay in safe houses, for example. So one type of attack is, one, financial. You got to cut off the money. And so if that money is being transported in cash via trucks, well, that Ho Chi Minh Trail type supply chain is going to be disrupted. That is a logistical operation. Not only attacking the bank accounts if there's an electronic signature, but shooting hellfires up the trucks' butts that are transporting the cash. This is a robust attack. It's just not DA kick in doors and go after bad guys. There is an entire infrastructure that has been evolved and developed to include civilians who are working part-time for the cartels, who have allegiance. Most of the operational elements of the cartel are going to be targeted first. Yeah, sure, if there's a target of opportunity to take out the head shed, HQ, yes. But they've been playing this cat and mouse game for a while now. They're not going to be operating in plain sight. They're going to be using covert communications, including dead drops, conversations. They're not going to have cell phones at all. But their guys will, because their guys work in plain clothes and plain sight, operating without fear on radios, cell phones, etc. Once that elaborate network is built, then most of the initial operations are going to be the guys that are shot callers, the guys commanding and controlling these low-level guys to do drug smuggling, assassinations, and killings. These guys will be the first targets of opportunity. Some of the options are kinetic in nature. It's a Spectre gunship, an AC-130 gunship that flies overhead that has the ability to mag dump a lot of munitions and destroy buildings, trucks, planes, and personnel. Only will you see these high-level surgical strikes with HRDA forces, Hostage Rescue and Direct Action forces like Delta and SEAL Team 6, when we want follow-on intelligence through sensitive site exploitation, picking up the pieces, and they'll be literal pieces. And also, we want the PR win because we want members of JSOC standing around a cartel member as they fly into Texas, land in an MH-47, offload, and hand them over to Pam Bondi. That's how it's going to get done. This is going to be very commercialized, very public for the world to see. And it's about damn time, to be honest. It's about damn time. The president, Scheinbaum, said her government had been informed of a coming order but had nothing to do with the U.S. military operating on Mexican soil. So her position behind closed doors is, I'll facilitate. She knows the deal. It would be a huge mistake if she didn't. But her facilitation comes at a cost, potentially the next election cycle. So she has to come out hard and say, I had nothing to do with this. And who do you think is going to be the next targets? The political figures, the military commanders and personnel that are working with American forces to get this done. How do you think this is going to play out? Chaos, calamity. That's how it's going to play out. Brian Finucane with the International Crisis Group has written the military action in Mexico would be hard to square with domestic or international law. Get out of here. Even though U.S. military action in Mexico would almost certainly be unlawful, as a practical matter, such a legality may not serve as an effective impediment. What? Trump has previously offered to send U.S. troops to Mexico to help Scheinbaum combat drug trafficking, an offer Scheinbaum said in May she had refused, despite 7th Group already being advertised as being there training Mexican forces. He's also said publicly the U.S. would take unilateral military action if Mexico failed to dismantle drug cartels. They've already failed. Let's get past that. The decision's already been made. There are going to be you heard it here right now. There are going to be unilateral surgical strikes by military personnel in Mexico. It's guaranteed. He had said publicly that unilateral military action would happen, and Scheinbaum, in response, had called any such action a violation of Mexico's sovereignty. You lost that argument a long time ago when you failed to do your job. And the presidents before you failed to do their job. Trump considered military action in Mexico during his first term. His former Defense Secretary Mark Esper wrote in his memoir. But now we have a different chain of command. Guys that are willing to get it done. Now, this is going to come with fallout, which is the point of this conversation for you. The fallout is going to be great. How many Mexican cartel members do you think exist in America? It's thousands, if not tens of thousands. When you take cartel members who are working with Hamas, Al-Qaeda, whose goals are the same when it comes to their adversary, when the adversary that was the biggest consumer of your goods is now saying, we don't want you anymore. Yeah, that run of marijuana, cocaine, fentanyl, all those drugs, those illicit drugs that we were consuming, we don't want that anymore. You guys screwed up with the fentanyl. Now you're all designated terrorists and bad guys. How do you think that's going to work out? Well, violence, amplified crime and violence, and specific attacks. If you're in Mexico and you're a politician, or you're a member of the military or police that is supporting these type of operations, beware, because you just made the list for the cartel. And the way that the cartel has continued to operate for decades, since forever, is through fear. Now they're on their heels and they have to flex. And who do you think is going to pay for that? The Mexican people first. I would not be surprised if there's domestic cartel attacks in the United States. I'll be talking about this uncensored on patreon.com/Mike Glover. I'll link it down below. Also, want to say a big shout out to my sponsor of this podcast, Carnivalt. Right? Yeah, you see it right here. Premium beef, chicken, and pork with no antibiotics, no hormones, just the food. You guys can check them out, linked down below. And I'm off to the underground to do the uncensored version of this. Till next time. Peace out, guys.